All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, and today we're going to be talking more what if. I wasn't sure if I was going to do any more of these or not, but I just want to give my basic thoughts on these. So we're doing like two at a time, and I don't expect anybody to watch these because the market is soaked up by people already talking about this. So 20 people watch this, 20 people hey, good, people who really want to know what I think about this, being a massive comic book fan. And yeah, I mean, I love the MCU as an extension of all that, and the MCU has gotten me to love things that I didn't like before and have now liked more in the comics. And so we're just going to talk briefly, for me, about the last two episodes. The Doctor Strange, what if he lost his heart instead of his hands, and the most recent, what if zombies. So to start things off with, if you're liking what I'm doing here on the channel, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you're not a subscriber. So to all new people, welcome. How you doing? Welcome to the conversation. To all returning subscribers to the channel, watchers of the channel, welcome back. How's everybody doing this morning? So yeah, this is like Thursday morning, the day after Zombies came out. And if you want to know what I thought about episode 3, you can go over to Alyssa Jean's channel, Alyssa Jean Reviews, where I talked about the S.H.I.E.L.D. episode. I call it the S.H.I.E.L.D. episode because Coulson's back, baby. Or it's the one where the Avengers all got killed by, they were all getting taken out. I'm not going to spoil that. We're going to spoil this, though. These. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that, you can go over there. Spoilers, if you want a real brave impression, I loved that episode, actually. So, Doctor Strange. The Doctor Strange one. Well, first, look, again, the animation is fantastic. I'm going to say that now so I don't have to say it about the next one. The animation in both of these, all of these are fantastic, and I want Marvel to do more animation. I've been also saying that ad nauseum. All right, don't let DC, run the gamut. Put out some stories that you have to tell, animation style. Do it. Okay, so first thing besides the animation is, yes, they got the voice talent back, and basically everybody, right? They got everybody that they wanted, even Benedict Cumberbatch, which, look, the people that are doing the replacements voices to some of the people who aren't in these, a la Chris Evans, Tom Holland, Robert Downey Jr., they've been doing pretty good. They're fine, But in this, you get Tilda Swinton, Benedict Cumberbatch, Rachel McAdams, Benedict Wong, it's everybody. Tilda Swinton, if I didn't say that already. And so that immediately, this episode felt the most full because it had the cast. It didn't feel like, and some of these episodes have felt like they've just copied and pasted actual lines that the characters have said in previous movies. I can't say that beyond a shadow of a doubt, but there's been moments where I feel like they just literally took audio from somebody and just put it in there. Like Stanley Tucci in the very first episode, he gets like one line. I'm like, did they just, maybe they copied and pasted it, or did they literally just say, hey, Stanley Tucci, say this in the phone for like 1 second. We'll pay you like, I don't know, $500, $1,000, however much that goes. Can you imagine getting paid to just say one line of dialogue and then getting a paycheck? Nice cushy existence that is. Even if it's not that much money, let's not dive down that rabbit hole. So that is good. The story is interesting because I was like, okay, she's in the car now. Christine's in the car. So in this universe, when he said, come with me, she said yes. We don't see that. And again, that's the biggest problem in all of these. And again, people can say we're being greedy, but to tell the best story, you need some time to explain some things. and they're not taking the time to explain things better. For people who are going to point out, why is she in the car? Just show us that she agreed to go. What changed in that moment? If this is called What If, and that's to me, the what if is not that he lost his hands, that she got in the car. If they want to just say multiverse, then they can then call it Tales from the Multiverse. And if you're not going to call it Tales from the Multiverse and you're going to call it What If, show us the real what if. Yes, the consequences are different and he doesn't lose his hands, even though he's still driving. So if the accident is the same, then why doesn't his hand still go through the steering column? Why, because she's in the car, does she die and his hands are fine? Again, if you have to keep saying just go with it, I have a problem with that. There has to be some kind of logic. Show something else with his hands, and that's just me. These are, again, just my opinions. Okay? You're completely free to have your own. But there is nothing that anyone's going to say to me that is going to make me change my mind. I want some explanations for some of these things that don't make sense. Yes, she's in the car. So what? Does that mean his hands don't? So she dies. And then he can't accept that. And he goes to the ends of the earth learning sorcery. This guy who only believed he's the Scully here. He was all about science and stuff. Now, he's also very selfish. If we go all the way back to the first Doctor Strange movie, he's a super narcissistic guy. He's very on the, kind of same path as like Tony Stark, kind of character of a lot about themselves, a lot of ego. And I saw his relationship with her as this kind of like, they used to date, they don't anymore, but he's still the kind of guy who's going to occasionally try to get back and hit that because she's there. And yeah, there's probably some affection there, but he cares more about himself than anything. He showed that after he hurt his hands, he pushed, he did everything. He focused so much on that and in himself that he pushed everyone away, including her. So I believed in the Doctor Strange story that he would go to the ends of the earth to fix himself. Like if he could not accept himself as is. I don't really think that he cared as much about her to learn sorcery to bring her back. I think that the scientific person, the detached person, the way a doctor sees death every day, would have accepted it. He would have been hurting. He would have felt awful. He would have wished that she had never gotten in the car. But I don't think that he would have done what he did. I just don't think that the character from that movie, because we're not dealing with, we're dealing, this is the problem with being in just dealing with the MCU and not just saying the fucking character. Just Doctor Strange. No, we're dealing with the MCU version of these characters. So by the MCU version of these characters, I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. He'd be torn up for sure, but he wouldn't go looking for sorcery. I just don't. That's just me. I'm not trying to take away the shipping of these two characters or anything like that. I'm just talking about logically what the character would do. And there's going to be somebody in the comments probably who'll be like adamantly against that. And you are, to me, if you're saying that, you're literally ignoring the character to fit the narrative that you want. I want this to be, I like this idea, right? I like all these ideas. I wish that he was a character that would do all this. but I just don't see it. If you see it, great. But I don't. Now that does not mean, and again, people will hear what they want to hear, and have already made up the mind that, like, some will already make up their mind that I'm full of shit and I don't know what I'm talking about or whatever, and it's just taking their own, like, thought processes too far. Well, look, I'm not. I don't like thinking this way. It's just I'm taking the information that I have and making logical thoughts about it. So when I say that I still liked watching this, I just had to turn my brain off completely and ignore all the logic and the character. Maybe that's more than logic. I had to ignore what the character really was, how he really was. So when I say that I actually enjoyed watching it and seeing him go down this path, as long as I was able to have to put the character blinders on, I liked seeing the path that he went on. This, like, real dark, self-destructive path that doesn't end with a happy ending. It ends, like, miserable. And I liked that. We get, he's split in two, and we get that moment where we think, oh, yeah, the good part of Doctor Strange, the Doctor Strange we know is going to win, and he doesn't. And he's cursed to live in this little, by himself, in this last little blip of reality. Now, from the trailers and the things that are taken out of context, we can tell by the last episode of this season that a lot of these characters are coming back, including this Doctor Strange. Unless they've just animated that stuff as a red herring, where you see the multiversal, the Avengers of this multiverse, this what-if universe coming together to fight something else, that the Watcher, I guess, is probably going to pluck these people out, which, again, fine. But I really dug all that. I dug that he was sucking up all the power, and by the end of it, even like when Doctor Strange, the version of Doctor Strange that we like, of his personality, started talking to him, it was almost as if the script was trying to like, it was trying to say, like, none of this is not going to solve anything. Like, it was like the story trying to convince, I don't know. Like, it was telling the character that's fighting against the other character, like, everything that we knew, and that everything that's, like, like, you should be seeing, and he just won't see it. So anyway, yeah, that's what I think on the Doctor Strange thing. I spent more time railing on it, but I did enjoy watching the descent, and I did enjoy the downbeat ending, because Marvel movies, don't really have those downbeat endings. Infinity War, yes, is like this shock to the system, but only so much as that Endgame is coming, and that, like, there'll be a plan in place. And I think the only question in that was, who is everybody going to make it out of that, and out of that, who's coming back and who isn't? But for the most part, the formula that works, and in this, they're challenging that. And so in that respect, I dig it. You just got to do it so that it makes sense for the characters, to the characters. You built the rules of these characters. You don't get to just throw them out the window, because what if? There still have to be choices that make sense for those characters. So, I'm going to press pause, and we're going to talk about zombies in just a second. Okay, so what if zombies? Now, I went painstakingly out of my way, because I've dug zombies. I've dug Robert Kirkman. I really like the idea of this story as well. This was the one that I really wanted to talk about when I heard about it. Like, of all the episodes that were announced or teased, this was the one I really did want to talk about, and I still really am. I have the very first appearance of the Marvel Zombies, the actual first appearance that took place in both Ultimate Fantastic Four number 21 and number 22, and we got the Robert Kirkman storyline of just Marvel Zombies. Now, these aren't the comic book Marvel Zombies. Again, we are doing everything by MCU rules, so this is the MCU Zombies. The problem with that is that it comes with the MCU formula that, while in a lot of ways works in what they do now, when you try to add that same formula to something horrific and dark and serious, it doesn't really land as well as I'd like. Was this episode a lot of fun? Yes, it was absolutely a lot of fun. But tonally, this is all messed up. I loved that this takes place right before Infinity War, right at the start of Infinity War. Thor is blasted out, out into the stars. He is not, he's about to find the Guardians of the Galaxy. All the Asgardians are dead. Loki is dead, and Hulk comes back. I'm sorry, I'm obsessing with my hair right now because it keeps sticking up in the back. Hulk comes to Earth to tell Tony, and everybody else that Thanos is coming, but it's too late because Hank Pym's wife in the quantum realm gets the quantum virus. This is where you have to just go with it. And go, fine, sure, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter any kind of bullshit. They could have done any kind of random thing, but they made it at least MCU. It's like poor Hank Pym can't catch a fucking break. First in episode 3 and then in episode 5, which really makes me want to talk about this since I got to talk about Hank Pym, the troubles of Hank Pym. So, yes, the original Wasp, Janet, she gets the virus, she bites Hank, he comes out, he bites Captain America, and the rest is history for this story. And everybody falls except for a small group of people that Hulk finds, and they spend the rest of the episode very Romero-esque trying to just get the hell out of Dodge. I thought that was kind of cool, that these heroes just kind of banding together to just... They're not really talking about saving the world. They're talking about trying to find a cure, sure, but they're just trying to stay alive, and I do appreciate that, where it does kind of follow those like horror movie rules, those zombie movie rules. And that's all good. That's all great. Plus the cast, minus the guy who's pretending to be Tom Holland, who, look, he did a really good job. He did a really good job, and almost want to just say, Tom, come on. If everybody else can get on the phone, so can you. But hey, this actor, he got to do lines opposite, his voice is opposite all these major players. Because you got Ruffalo, who, he's just great. I love Ruffalo. You get Paul Rudd, you get Evangeline Lilly. You get Jon Favreau, you get Emily Van Camp, you get Paul Bettany, who again, Paul Bettany, he's just game for everything, right? You get Sebastian Stan, you get Danai Gurira, who, come on. Anybody who knows her from Walking Dead as Michonne, this is, like, perfect. It's come full circle for her. The two worlds have joined. And then, once again, we get Chadwick Boseman, who, his lines are just so now after the fact, like, choked me up. And that's one of the things, is that if this episode had played like that, like with Peter's speech about Uncle Ben, if they had played it like that, if they had brought the room down to face the situation that they're in, like they should, this episode would be it'd be one of the best things in the MCU. But unfortunately, they do a different way. They go silly. They go way too silly when this whole thing should be serious. Like, it's fine, I think, at the beginning when it's first introduced and Hulk's like, what is going on? And the cape comes out of nowhere, and that's all great, and it's just kind of like you get Thanos' dudes down there, and they're just like at the beginning of their attack, it is all going down, and the humor there, great, it works. It's shocking, and we need a bit of like, oh God, Tony's dead, which I never care about. Like, good. Man, I keep coming more and more off as I don't like Iron Man, and I like the character. I just don't like Tony Stark. It's to the credit of Robert Downey Jr., as I always say, that the character is watchable. So all that's great, but then once, and again, this is the time factor. We have no time to sit in this world and sit with these characters and let them feel something. Characters die and are disposed of quickly, like in a horror movie. And I guess you could say, like in a lot of horror movies, they don't take the time to really feel something. But all those movies, we haven't been sitting with all these people for hours and hours and tons of content and following it for years. People in horror movies that die, we don't care because we have no attachment to them. And their cliches and their tropes, and they're the different little parts of society. There's this version, this person. They have all the little categories, and you don't care for the most part. There's usually one or two people, maybe three, that you care about in a horror movie. And one of them usually ends up dying, maybe two, and you got one person usually left or ish. And we all are used to that. But when you have all these characters that we love just dropping like flies and being casually dismissed and forgotten, and we just move on to the joke, the next gag, the next this, that, and the other, and it doesn't matter who's saying it, and no matter who I like. Like Paul Bettany at the end, when we find out what's going on with the Vision and Wanda, that is some next level dark. And they just kind of like, oh, okay, and this is what we move on, and then we just move on. And but the thing is like, I still enjoyed watching it. It just, tonally, there were too many things that just kind of like, It's like being in a car with somebody who doesn't know how to work the brakes. And you're just like, you're going along just fine. Except those are the jokes that smack you in the face and go, oh, ha, 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 ha. Except you don't want to laugh. So, and again, this ends great. I mean, there's Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, and they've got the Soul Stone, and it makes you go, I wonder how things are going to play out in this world. And honestly, I don't really need a continuation of this. If they did one, great. But I think that this is pure what if at the end of it. Like, what would happen then next? And gives you plenty of water cooler talk and plenty of speculation that doesn't have to go anywhere. So again, there's good and bad in both of these episodes. And most of it is just still the same stuff. Not having enough time to tell these stories properly and to give us more character and give us more context. And then tonally, some of this stuff is just way off. So those are my, and again, it seems like I spend a lot of time railing about it, but it's important to understand that, to me anyway. If you want to just turn your brain off and enjoy, then you do that. You turn off and enjoy. And sometimes I wish I could just do that. When you've been doing this now for a few years, like I've been reviewing things in my head my whole life. It's only been the last 4 or 5 that I've been doing it on YouTube. And so it's been hard to like turn that part of my brain off all the time to just flat out enjoy something for the sake of enjoyment, and to my own detriment that happens. But I still got to stick to that, you know. I still got to stick to that, and I do that for things I love, and I do that for things I don't love. So at least it's fair. So anyway, if you like my take on this, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, the bell for all notifications. Now, usually this is where I put on my shades and I give you a new memory. But if you did not like anything I have to say, go check out Alyssa Jean's Reviews channel, brand new channel, and she's talking about it with a group of people every week. And so I highly recommend checking out her channel, where I was on episode 3. And so get your information from her or someone else that you like about this. Otherwise, keep reading comics. Get to the real stories. And we'll see you on the next video. Bye.